Oh, hi there. Ben here with this week's Sunday school lesson. I'm just here in the French Quarter of historic downtown Charleston, and this week's Bible lesson will be very different, just like last week's. I'm on vacation. Just going to take 10 minutes to tell you about this very cool place where I'm standing now. If these rocks could talk, they would tell such a story. I mean, this area, you guys, is 350, 400 years old in places. And if you do the math, that puts us back into slavery time. So there are a lot of historic landmarks here to do with slavery. And just at the end of this road, we did the very touristy thing, picked up one of these flyers on the old slave museum. And it is amazing, guys. This road leads to a building that's called the old Slave Mart, just like your convenience mart. It is hard to read. In the mid-1800s, slave traders came down this road to buy and sell human beings, African Americans. It's a very sad thing, but I'm going to read it for you. They came down this road to buy and sell African Americans in horse and buggies, just like this car is driving by, but they were clip-clopping down this way, and their wares were humans. The lives of the enslaved blacks, traders, and owners who passed through this building were as different as they were entwined. There are million-dollar estates on this property with pools, with horse carriage garages, art galleries, and the reason that they were on this road was the slave trade. And so that's very sad. I think about these rocks, which are original. If they could talk, what would they tell us? Who came down here? Who was whipped on this road? Who died on this road? Who was happy that they went to a new family to get away from their old family because they were in slavery? Think about what the Bible says about us being slaves to sin. And thankfully, the Bible says we're no longer slaves to sin. We don't have to be. I'm going to read you a verse, and this will be this week's key verse, this Bible study, from Romans 6. And by the way, if you haven't heard me say it yet, Romans 6 is my favorite book in the Bible. So Romans 6, it says in verse 12, "Do not let sin control the way you live. Do not give in to sinful desires. Don't let any part of your body become an instrument of evil to serve sin. Instead, give yourselves completely to God, for you were dead, but now you have a new life. So use your whole body as an instrument to do what is right for the glory of God." Sin is no longer your master. Now we're getting into this slavery concept. Sin is no longer your master. It no longer tells you what to do against your will. You've been set free. It says in verse 14, "For you no longer live under the requirements of the law. Instead, you live under the freedom of God's grace." Verse 15, "Well then, since God's grace has set us free from the law, does that mean we can go on sinning? No. Don't you realize that you become the slave of whatever you choose to obey?" So guys, God has set us free from sin. We're not slaves to sin. We don't do that against our will. But what this is saying, you can be a slave to whatever you choose to obey. You can willingly go back into slavery. And when I think about that in terms of human slavery, I think, what a dumb idea. What a bad idea. Don't do it. You've been set free. And then when you translate that to spiritually, guys, what a dumb idea. You can actually willingly put yourself back into slavery, which you've been set free from, by what you choose to obey. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples to close out the study today. You can put yourself back into slavery if you choose to obey peer pressure. You do what they say. You're a slave to peer pressure. Music. You do what they say, even though I know that a lot of young kids probably don't understand that you end up doing a lot of things they suggest. You're a slave to that sin. Alcohol, swearing, disobeying your parents. You're a slave to what you choose to obey. Instagram, Facebook, guys, the list is forever. Even technology itself, you can become a sin if you choose to obey technology before God. So I'll close with this. The best way to not become a slave to sin is to always put God over whatever you're listening to, viewing, watching, doing. Put it through that filter and ask God, should I be doing this or shouldn't I? And remember, you are set free because of Jesus and the grace that God gives you. Guys, I love you. I miss you. Hope to see you soon. God bless.